is reloading still a good idea? It does reloading cost more than it ever did? And I think there'll be some surprising answers there.
Yeah.
And should you? So
Yeah.
let's do it.
Hi there, and welcome to the Guns Podcast US, brought to you by gunsmagazine.com and sponsored by Tango Down.
Tango Down has been a trusted leader in firearms, parts, and accessories for more than 2 decades. Whether you're upgrading your everyday carry or finishing out your next rifle build, Tango Down has you covered. Their product line continues to grow with new releases coming in 2026. Visit tangodown.com to explore the full lineup and sign up for email updates so you don't miss what's next. Tango Down, combat gear without peer.
I'm your host, Brent Wheat, and I'd like to thank you for joining us here on one of the world's biggest gun talk programs as we chat, cuss, and discuss all the interesting stuff about the world of shooting. And I'm joined, of course, by my co-host, Roy Huntington. Good morning, Roy.
Good morning, and I am ready to go on this topic.
You are. You're fired up. Well, today we're going to talk about something that it started as just a little conversation between Roy and I, which is how a lot of our shows end up starting. But Roy found a relic the other day, and there I gave you the slow pitch softball. Roy, tell us about this relic you found and what was unique about it.
Well, actually, I was doing a video about reloading, and there was a can of unique powder behind me, something that I got at a garage sale or something. So it was probably from the 70s, early 70s, and the price tag was still on it. And it was like $7.95 or $8.95. And a reader commented on it, or a reviewer commented. He said, yeah, sure, go ahead. Just, make us all envious because you have a pound of unique for $8.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it caused me to do a little bit of research. And so that's why I thought today would be interesting is that, is reloading still a good idea? It does reloading cost more than it ever did? And I think there'll be some surprising answers there. And should you? So yeah, let's do it.
So you did the math on the internet, and basically that pound of unique in $20-25 is about, what a pound of unique runs.
Well, I did call it $8 in 1973. What is that in 2025? Now $20-26. And it was like $70, $65. And it made me think, because in retrospect, if I was going to spend $8 or something, because it was rare that I had more than $3 or $4 or $5 in my pocket. That was a chunk of change, And I was thinking, well, okay, then I made $1.45 an hour at the time, in a job which was minimum wage. And so if I wanted to buy that powder, that would have been I can't do the math, 5 hours of work, right? That's almost a whole day of work to buy a pound of gunpowder. And so then I translated that in today's world. The minimum wage or average wage now is close to $20. Mm-hmm. And so, well, then if you work for 3 hours or 4 hours, you could buy a pound of unique powder. So it's the same.
Yeah. And that really struck me because I like everybody else. Well, man, powder and bullets and dyes and everything's so much more expensive now. Well, relative to, like you said, how many hours you need to work to buy it. And of course, not everything is 1-to-1 and all that, but overall, and I did a little bit of my checking after you told me that, and it pretty much works out that stuff is relatively the same. So I think to answer question number one, is the cost about the same as it's always been? Yeah, in today's wages. So then we got to get down to that question that really is kind of the heart of what this episode is, which is reloading really worth it? And, back in the day, as they say, well, yeah, I used to save a lot of money by reloading. Well, Did you actually, and can you today? And it's not a black and white question. What do you take into account? And as Tom McHale and I discussed one time, do you have to take your own labor into account? But so the question is very multifaceted and not black and white, but I'll throw it to you, Roy. Is reloading really worth it let's just say in dollars and cents right now?
Yes. And the reason I say that is the reloading market was sort of artificially kept affordable for years. I mean, just a few years ago, unique was still $20 a pound, and it wasn't because of this collision of culture with wars and a lack of manufacturing ability and whatnot that drove the prices up. A lot of powders that we use are from overseas, Australia and other countries, and so there's import taxes and transportation costs more, shipping costs more, and so it's kind of caught up to probably what the real value of it should be now. And so we're looking back at, well, hey, I mean, 5 years ago I bought a pound of unique powder for $20. Now it's $65. When you can find it. And I know the gut knee-jerk reaction is that's too much money, but that's like saying, if like right now gasoline here in Missouri is about $2.10 a gallon, I know it's like it's cheap.
Yeah.
Because, whatever, 6 months from now, it could be $4 a gallon, which may or may not be maybe what it's supposed to cost. And so we get fooled into that. We think, oh, well, that's not, if McDonald's is having a 99-cent hamburger sale, but next week they go back to the normal price, we think we're getting screwed, when in actuality, that's the normal price. I looked at components. I still have some component boxes from the 70s and early 80s. Like, here is the box of bullets that I bought and I paid X amount of dollars for. So I did the math, and they were actually more expensive then.
Really?
In other words, my 500 count, 240 grain lead semi-wad cutter cast bullets that I used to buy in a box was actually about 25% more than what I would be able to buy that same box today. And component price, like reloading equipment prices are amazingly affordable. I mean, in the early 70s, a rock chucker reloading press was $65. Well, if we do the math on that, I mean, that's like $700 or $800.
Wow.
So, and I remember coming up with that money to buy my first press in 1971 or 2.
Yeah.
That was a huge expenditure for me. And my dad thought I was insane, because I can understand that now. And the powder measures were X amount of money, but the components now are so cheap. I mean, you can buy a Lee single stage entry level press for $50. I mean, think about that. You can buy a progressive press for basically $200. I mean, dies are still $35 to maybe $50. Well, I mean, they were $15 to $20 50 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So things are cheaper now than they used to be. They really are. And so people, it's like, I used to pay a penny a piece for primers. Right. I used to pay 24 cents a gallon for gasoline in 1968. But a penny a piece for a primer in those days would maybe be 10 cents a piece today. Right?
Yeah. Yep.
Well, guess what? When you do the math, that's exactly how much they cost today. So I think we older guys tend to do that. We look and we say, well, when I was a kid, I paid this one. Yeah, you're right. And it has no bearing on today. I wrote up something about a python not too long ago, where I showed one of the new pythons in a video. They're $1,500. And of course, the comments were like, well, I remember my first python I bought in 1971 and it was $165. Well, I did the math, right? And anyone can Google it. What is $168 in 1973 or 71 worth today? Well, guess what? It was almost exactly $1,500.
Yeah.
So they don't cost more. The number is higher, but in reality, it doesn't cost more, if that makes sense.
Yep. So let's zoom in on this the economy of reloading. And again, it's not a black and white answer. To you, Roy, when you're reloading a box of ammo, you can find components to where here's factory ammo, basically the same thing. The ammo I reloaded was cheaper because I cast my own bullets. I found cheaper powder, but it's basically the same. So I don't think there's anybody that would dispute that, other than the commodity rounds have gotten so inexpensive. It's hard to beat those using top quality factory. But when you're looking at the economy of reloading, do you include things like the cost of your equipment? Because in a strict dollars and cents accounting, the hundreds or thousands you've paid for all the gear, the reloading dies and all that. What's your whole take when somebody says, can I save money by buying this, and reloading 357, 158 grain?
Well, I think if you're being a mercenary about it, and if you're only getting into reloading to save your money, then you need to amortize the cost of the equipment, right? I got into reloading because I thought it was interesting and fun. And I happen to save money too. I mean, I agree with you. It's you almost can't reload a box of 59 millimeters for $10. So the commodity ammo like that, I mean, I agree. I still can't throw empty 9mm brass away. I donate it to people I know, right? But I think with rare exceptions and depending on your components, it's between a half and 2/3 as expensive as a factory load, especially when you're talking with the bigger bore stuff, 45 Colt, 45 ACP, 357 Magnum, even 38 Special. I load a lot of 32 Magnum wad cutters. I do it very affordably. But as far as amortizing your equipment, I mean, you will earn that back relatively fast depending on how much you shoot. Think about this for a minute. I still use the loading press that I bought in 70 or 71, the RCBS Rock Chucker press. I still use that. So, has that paid for itself? Oh, yeah, like maybe 100 times over, or more. So I think you shop smart. It's like I bought a 5-pound container of powder not too long ago. It was a lot of money. It was like $350 or something like that. It was still cheaper than buying it by the pound, but I happened to load 38 Special and 32 Magnum with it. Well, it's thousands of rounds are in that 5-pound bag or box of powder. And so while your initial expense sounds, holy cow, that's a lot of money, actually it's not. When you break it down. Like I like to use Barry's bullets, and Barry's bullets are extremely affordable. They're easy to load. They're clean. They're available. So I mean, all this stuff, like anything, if you're going to buy bananas, you don't buy one. I mean, you buy a bunch of bananas and you'll get a better deal. And so reloading components are the same way. Now, I will say this, though. If you're brand new to reloading, get yourself a Lee loader, get yourself a single stage press from Lee, or one of the real affordable kits. Get a pound of some powder that's useful for some of what you're loading. Get yourself 500 primers or something and buy some bullets and then try it out. And if you like it, well, now you know that you can make an investment. And so both enjoy your hobby, and you will definitely save money. You will always save money. If you even just give it a little bit of thought. It may not be a huge amount of money. It's 10 or 15 or 20%, say, but that's still saving money. And for me, I know there are the mercenary people. It's like, well, I can't reload that for cheaper than what I can buy for it. I got it. I understand that. But just the other day, I reloaded about 200 mild 30-30 loads, and I don't even know if I saved money because I didn't pay any attention to how much the components cost or anything. Yeah. I just did it because it was fun, and it gave me something, a load that I wanted to use. And so I don't know. People, you don't make money if you fly radio controlled airplanes.
Yeah.
It costs you to do that.
Yep.
So
virtually any hobby. And that's kind of the perspective I wanted to bring out, because I represent probably the complete opposite use case of Roy when it comes to reloading. I came to reloading only a few years ago, and now I don't do a lot of it. All my gear is virtually brand new. I reload pretty much all rifle cartridges. I reload because I'm chasing primarily accuracy. And in the case of, the 6 Creedmoor or some of these others, it's hard to get the cartridges from manufacturers. And if I've got to do a review, I'm kind of up against it. I have to have the ammo. So the best way to do it is reload myself. So then you get into the question of, am I enjoying myself? Am I having fun? My time does have value, but if that's what I'm looking at of, my time is worth 3.5 cents for every loaded round, I don't think that's a good measure of a hobby. So to me, I probably save money strictly if you don't count the cost of amortizing all of my equipment. But when you look at availability, convenience, and the ability to chase accuracy, I think it comes out net positive for me. But in terms of dollars and cents, I don't know that it would yet. I don't know that I've broke even on recovering the cost of all my gear. So that to me is way down on the list of positives for reloading. I do it because it helps me in my shooting, not necessarily because it's putting a little bit more money in my pocket.
Yes to all of that. I think the thing to do is, if you're just getting into it to save money, you may have to reevaluate it.
Agreed.
But for instance, I have this single shot 30-30 Chiappa little sharps. Well, when you shoot it with a standard 30-30 load, even though it's not a big, serious cartridge, it still kicks you pretty good because it's a lightweight little rifle. And so I load a 150 Berry's round nose bullet at about 1,300 feet per second, 13 to 1,400 feet per second. So it's still got a little thump. It clangs the target really nicely, but it's extremely fun to shoot, and the cases last forever. Well, unless I was a reloader, I probably couldn't do that. I mean, there are some low recoil, loads out there, but they're expensive. I was at a gun show about 2 weeks ago. I was appalled at how much factory ammunition costs.
You're still talking about it.
I know, but I mean, yeah, there's commodity $10 9mm, that kind of stuff, but that's about the only commodity there is out there. I mean, a box of premium hunting cartridges, 30-06, 6.5 Creedmoor, Remington, Federal, Winchester, you name it. I mean, they're like $60. I mean, can you get them a little cheaper? Maybe sometimes, like a white label something, and I got it. If you're a hunter and you shoot once a year, that one bullet you shoot's going to get a deer. So if you buy a box of 20, that's 20 deer. Okay, that's probably a good investment. But if you want to go to the range this weekend and sight in a rifle and you plan on shooting 20 or 30 or 40 rounds, well, if you're paying $50 a box, you just burned up 200 rounds of ammunition. Well, that's way more than a cost for a basic reloading kit from Lee
Great.
Precision, for instance.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's all. I think you have to be positive. Don't be that negative Nelly guy or girl.
Yeah.
Actually, I just accidentally said something interesting. I spoke with a couple women lately who have gotten into reloading, and basically there were two ladies, a very young gal in her late 20s who just took up shooting, and then an older lady who was in her 60s. She said, I watched my husband do this for the last 40 years, and I'm kind of tired of knitting, and so I thought I'm gonna try this. Well, and it's like her new favorite thing. As she says, it's so interesting. She likes to tumble the brass because it comes out shiny. She wears rubber gloves though when she handles the lead bullets.
Right.
But she says, so because you go from nothing to something, that's assembled. You've actually done actual work and made something, rather than just kind of nothing, And
Yep.
then the other gal did it because it was first she did it to save money, but then as her shooting sophistication level got higher, she realized the versatility that reloading gave her. That if she wanted a lighter weight bullet at a lighter velocity, she could do that. Without having to shop every gun store and trying to find just that load from somebody. So,
yep. Well, I was sitting here. I've got a kind of a standard answer to the question because, again, doing what we've done, people ask it quite a bit, and I'm going to ask you as that new reloader, new shooter, maybe, but I'd be interested on hearing the Roy Huntington response, and that is, okay, you've just asked me, is it worthwhile to reload? And I would say that overall, it's a wash. Sometimes you save money. Sometimes you might actually spend a little bit more money, and then you throw in all the support equipment and the time you've got invested. It's kind of a wash overall. But if you're focused on saving pennies, then you're focused on the wrong thing when it comes to shooting. So, your thoughts, Roy?
I agree completely. If somebody says, hey, I want to get into reloading, the first thing I ask them is, why? And if they say, well, I want to save money, I have that conversation with them. Well, you're probably not going to save a lot of money, especially because you're going to invest something up front. But if they say, well, I've read these articles about guys and they reload because they can tailor loads for different guns. And, and I say, well, yes, then you should. And here's why.
Yeah.
The other thing I ask people is, do you like to work with your hands? Do you do crafts? Do you work in your shop? Do you work on your car? Do you do things like that? If they say yes, then I usually say, well, then I think you'll enjoy reloading because it's very tactile. And as that lady said, she likes the fact she goes from nothing to something that she's done herself. And I think if you are a craftsman, a model builder, a machinist, these are all people who are reloaders too, usually, by the way, and there's a reason for that. But if what you like to do is like I read and I watch movies and I go for walks with the dog, I don't know that you're going to like reloading. I would encourage you to because it's fun and you may develop some new skills that you'll enjoy. But I hope that makes sense. I think the people get caught up in the initial investment, and I think you need to not. Because really think about it. People spend $150 to go out to dinner, right? Well, 2 or 3 of those get you into reloading.
Yeah.
And you never have to buy that again.
Yep.
So, yeah, just don't get caught up in the nickel and dime of it all. So I just recommended it. I find it fulfilling and fun.
Totally agreed. And, I got to address this, though. Sometimes it's a matter of trying to justify those expenses either to yourself or to a loved one. Well, I'm saving all kinds of money here. We've all said it. Of course, they've done it to us. Well, I had to buy, look at how much I saved on those shoes. Okay, I get it. We all play the game. So I guess my point is, you're going to do that and maybe to yourself, but don't get wrapped around the axle, as they say. Do it for all the right reasons, not to save those pennies and nickels.
Yeah. And I'm a strong advocate of look in your gun safe or your gun closet or your gun whatever. If you've got a dozen guns in there, look at the maybe 2 that you don't even really use. Maybe you haven't shot them in 5 years, right? Well, get rid of them and put that money to work, and use that money as an investment in a fun hobby, So yeah, there you go. So don't let the money scare you away. Yeah. Take a bite at a time, maybe buy your first pound of powder and then, your next paycheck, then you buy some primers, and your next paycheck, you buy some bullets, and, that's all. It's like anything. If you enjoy it, I promise you it'll be fun.
Exactly. Well, one thing we haven't talked about, do you think we're going to get banned? Because we've covered that in a couple of episodes here of late, one of the things that YouTube says you're not supposed to talk about is manufacturing ammo. And I don't understand it. And I think what they intend is like how to make like counter anti-personnel rounds or something, but we're treading on thin ice here. So Roy, I hope this doesn't get banned out of the gate, because we're still on double secret probation. So,
well,
but
you know,
you've done some
there are
reloading stuff and not got any trouble.
I have. I have. You know, and that's where they talk about that. I hear people being banned because they're showing how to reload a 38 special or something. We've certainly done videos like that. And then I, as a matter of fact, I think we got hit one time because Gunpowder was a sponsor.
Yeah.
And it was, I don't even remember what the topic was. I think it was something unrelated, but
yeah,
we got binged for that because we were encouraging or selling ammunition or something, you know, and it's like, what? You know, so all we did was talk about a hobby today. We didn't tell anybody how to reload anything.
Exactly.
You know? So
we didn't even really encourage it. We just said, investigate and do what you feel.
Yep. Do what you feel. So all right.
Well,
hey, can I say something though?
Oh, please do.
You were probably just going to say it is that if you have more specific questions, I'm not sure that we'll be able to cover them. But if you do have more specific questions, make sure you post them in the comments, and I promise I'll get back to you.
Weak minds think alike, because that's exactly where I was going with that. Reach out, editor@gunspodcast.us, or of course you can leave a comment on YouTube. And as we said last week, be a decent person about it if you were going to get fired up, but no, most of them are. So we do follow those, and Roy makes it a darn near full-time job to follow those comments. So we certainly appreciate that. So of course, do not forget our great sponsor, Tango Down.
Visit tangodown.com to explore the full lineup and sign up for email updates so you don't miss what's next. Tango Down, combat gear without peer.
They've got a lot of great products out there, so check them out. And on behalf of our sponsor, I already said that, on behalf of our co-host, Roy Huntington, as always, I'd like to remind you, reload some, and then now get out there and get shooting.